Come spend an afternoon in the kitchen with me. I'm a mom of four and I'm all about making nourishing meals for my family. Today, we are prepping an easy, freezer friendly breakfast but with a high protein twist. So come along. Summer vacation has officially started, which means all four of my kids are home. They have activities here and there, but not every day, so I'm trying to get ahead on a few things. Today, I'm focusing on making some freezer friendly breakfast that I can pull out on busy mornings. That way, on days when I'm working or running around, the kids can still have something homemade and filling. I'm starting with pancakes. Normally, I would make my sourdough version, but today I'm making a high protein pancake recipe instead. I'm making a big batch so I can freeze them and have breakfast ready to go for the next few weeks. I'm starting by mixing my dry ingredients. I'm using equal parts all purpose flour and almond flour, then adding sugar, baking powder, and salt. Give that a quick mix and keep it aside. After finishing the dry ingredients, I'm moving on to the wet ingredients. I will melt the butter first. I just want to make sure it's fully melted but not too hot. To another bowl, I'm adding 2 eggs, milk, melted butter, and vanilla extract. Now it's time to mix all of it together. You add the wet ingredients into the dry so you can control the texture. With almond flour, it hydrates fast and unevenly, so this helps prevent overmixing and it keeps the batter light and it gives you a smoother, more consistent mix. Now I'm moving on to almond flour waffles. But before that, just a quick note. When you are working with almond flour batter, it's really important to let it rest. Almond flour keeps absorbing liquid over time, so resting helps it thicken evenly, smooths out the texture, and gives you a softer final result when it cooks. The waffle ingredients are pretty similar to the pancakes, and I already have everything out, so I'm just going to make it now before cleaning up. In my bowl, I'm adding all purpose flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt, basically the same dry mix as the pancakes. Then I'll give it a quick mix. These steps are the same as the pancakes, just with different measurements, so it kind of feels like a repeat. Next, I'm moving on to melting the butter. For the wet ingredients, I have eggs, milk, melted butter, and vanilla extract. I will add the wet mixture to the dry ingredients, give it a quick mix, and then set it aside just like before. My cast iron griddle is out, which means it's officially pancake time. As soon as that griddle heats up, I'm going to start making the pancakes. Now, there are a few things to keep in mind when making pancakes with almond flour. Traditional pancakes made with all purpose are usually cooked to a light golden brown color with a soft, fluffy texture. The browning tends to be even across the surface, giving them that classic pancake appearance. The same is generally true for sourdough pancakes as well. Now, when you add almond flour to the batter, things change a bit. It causes the pancakes to brown more quickly on the griddle, and you will also notice small speckles throughout the pancakes from the almond flour itself. Because of this faster browning, it's best to cook them over medium low heat and give them a little extra time to cook through. I'm also making several large pancakes at once, so you'll notice that some areas brown more than others. If I were making only two or three at a time, I could get a more even color, but I like convenience more than perfection in my kitchen, so this will have to do. As soon as I'm done with the pancakes, I move the griddle out and start preheating my cast iron waffle maker. I absolutely love this waffle maker. It takes a little longer to heat up than the electric one, but the waffles come out beautifully crisp on the outside and tender on the inside. So what I'm doing here is pouring the batter into the waffle maker and then flipping it over so the heat distributes evenly on both sides. Once it's flipped, I set the timer for 2 minutes. When the timer goes off, I flip it one more time and set another 2-minute timer. So in total, the waffle cooks for about 2 minutes on each side. This is a closer look at what the finished waffle looks like. There's definitely a bit of a learning curve when it comes to using cast iron, and adding almond flour introduces another variable. Compared to an all-purpose flour batter, almond flour tends to stick a little bit more. There is butter in the batter, but I'm not brushing any additional butter or oil onto the cast iron between waffles. Occasionally, a waffle may stick in a few spots, but it's usually not a big deal. If that happens, I simply use a fork to gently loosen the edges and separate the waffle from the iron. In all the years I've been making waffles this way, I've never had one stick so badly that it completely fell apart or ruined the waffle. Once you get the hang of it, it's actually pretty forgiving. I'm not wasting any of that precious batter. I even scrape out the last little bit because every drop counts. This one looks like it might overflow, but it didn't, and I'm really happy with how everything turned out. By the time I'm editing this, which is a week later, all of those waffles and pancakes are already gone. While the waffles were cooking, I was getting a little bored because of those 2-minute waits. So I started looking around for something else I could do in between. That's when I decided to make yogurt as well. It's perfect for moments like this because it doesn't need constant attention. You just have to give it an occasional stir so it does. What I have here is a large stock pot, and I'm adding 2 half gallons of milk. I need to bring it up to a boil, but I also make sure to stir it every so often so it doesn't stick to the bottom. This step is not absolutely necessary, but I do recommend it. If you skip the stirring, you will end up with burnt bits stuck to the bottom of the pot, and those are really difficult to clean later on. My recipe is really simple. I don't even bother checking the temperature. I just bring the milk up to a boil, which, as you can see, is just starting to happen now. As soon as the milk rises to the top, I give it one quick final stir and then I turn off the heat. Now this is happening later in the day after the milk has cooled down to anywhere between warm and room temperature. You'll notice a thin layer forming on top. That's completely normal. I just give it a quick stir and mix it back in. I don't usually discard it. Next, I add my starter. This is yogurt saved from a previous batch, usually from when I know I'm nearing the end and want to set some aside. You don't really need much, about 2 to 4 tablespoons is enough. I mix that in well, and then I transfer everything into this glass jar that holds about a gallon of milk. Then I leave it on the counter overnight. By the next morning, it has set into yogurt. I'll move it into the fridge and it's ready to use whenever I need it. I have one more thing planned for today, and that's making some bagels. Traditional bagels involve quite a few steps, but this high protein version is much simpler. By using yogurt instead of liquid, all you have to do is mix the dough, shape the bagels, and bake. That's it. It's easy, quick, and delicious. I've got my all purpose flour, baking powder, salt, and yogurt all mixed together. Now I'm dividing the dough into 8 equal pieces. First, I cut it in half, then each half in half again, and one more time until I've got 8 even portions ready to shape. To shape these, I roll each piece into a ball, then use my thumb to poke a hole in the middle. I gently stretch it with both my hands into a bagel shape. Since they are made with baking powder, they will puff up in the oven. So I make the center hole a bit bigger than I actually want in the final bagel because it does shrink as it bakes. Here it is just one more time. Once I have the final shape, I also place it on my cutting board and gently roll it just to smooth out the surface and give it a nice even finish. Now I'm preparing an egg wash. I crack an egg and beat it well. Then use a pastry brush to brush it over the surface of the bagels. This helps give the bagels that beautiful golden color as they bake. Now I'm sprinkling some black sesame seeds on top. If I had white sesame seeds, I would have used a mix of both, but I only have black sesame seeds today, so that's what I'm going with. The bagels are ready. They freeze really well, just like all of today's recipes. If you'd like the full recipe, check out the links in the description below. Thank you for watching.